I'm Juanita Jennings. I've been a Roswell resident for about 7 years. I moved here in 2014, so I'm not born and raised a Roswell resident, but I would call Roswell my home now. It's become my home. You know, when I first heard of Roswell, I moved here because my husband, this is where he lived, and I had heard of aliens, but I didn't know much about Roswell. I remember my first time coming here, he said, let's meet at the Town and Country. And I was thinking that was like a restaurant, but it was really a gas station. And so, it was just really different. Like when I got here, I did not expect it to be what it is. I think I expected, my expectation of Roswell was very kitschy, very sci-fi. But when I got here, it's very country. And I came from a larger city, and things move a little slower, which is a good thing about living in a community like Roswell. I think I was really surprised. The first time we moved here, our neighbor came over with the pie, and I had never experienced that before. And I think that tells a little bit about the character of the community in just my first week. I was really surprised because we just didn't get that where I moved from. So, a perfect weekend in Roswell, if I had nothing on my schedule, I would definitely take the opportunity to go to Bottomless Lake State Park and do a little bit of kayaking and have a nice picnic out there. Take my kids, take my dog, do a little hike with them, come back. They have a great playground. My kids would love to play on that. Come into town. I think the local stores downtown and around our community, you get a little taste of Roswell, a little Roswell flavor. Have lunch, or a early afternoon cocktail drinks. And then I think for the evening time, I think finding just a great place to have dinner. We have so many restaurants here that have a good, just a good vibe. I think that's one of the beauties of living here is that there's so many local flavors here in Roswell that you can suggest. You can't just suggest one. I mean, we have different ones popping up all the time, whether you want a burger from a business that started out as a food truck and now they have a brick and mortar location, or you have your neighbors that you go to church with that just opened up a business on 2nd Street and they're serving brunch now that you didn't have a couple weeks ago. I think there's so many different local venues that you could, whether it's Mexican or Asian food or American traditional barbecue. I mean, your Southern country, you have so many different breakfasts. I guess that's another thing I would do. I love breakfast in the morning, and so Cowboy Cafe is kind of one of our favorites. Just that good Southern cooking that you get, biscuits and gravy, and then you have to add the green chili. So I think the city did a really great job at ensuring the safety of our community. I think they took into consideration our community is very different in how we assessed COVID, right? I believe the city communicated in a manner that was safe for everyone, calming, disseminated information. We produced more information this last year to the community than we probably had done in the last 2 years combined, with just keeping people informed about what was happening, local businesses, city services. One of the greatest things that the city did during COVID is that no city employee lost their job by the city's decision. We reassigned our employees and the staff amongst different services, and we were able to get other things done during COVID that we normally wouldn't be able to do when the public is in some of our facilities. So our library had some really great opportunity to do some remodeling and infrastructure. The zoo, another great one. We finished a big cat exhibit at the zoo for our mountain lion. It was a $250,000 investment from our portion of the city that went into that, and we were able to finish that without any public in there because we were closed. So I think the city overall did a really great job at communicating to our citizens as well as to the visitors, letting them know when the time is right, we're going to be open again and you can come back in a safe way. I think the festival in itself has changed, not only due to COVID, but just the nature of outdoor festivals because of COVID. I think that they're going to experience more intimate settings. I think that's probably the benefit of COVID, is a more intimate, immersive experience rather than just gobs of people with loud music and vendors. That's not the experience that they're going to get this year. This year it's going to be an intimate experience with immersive opportunities for all ages, from young kids all the way to our seniors or more seasoned individuals. Things for teens, something for our teenage population to do. I think that we've kind of missed that in the past, and again, I feel this year, because of COVID, and even not because of COVID, I think it's just going to be a whole different festival, something that we've never done before. Well, we know that it has a huge impact for the Roswell economy. I know that there are some of our local businesses that in this 3-day period, they produce more than sometimes they do in a full month of operation. And so it was really important that the city continue to have this festival to support our local businesses, to support our community and the economy of our community. And so our goal is that we're bringing visitors in to our community in the most safe way, but also giving them an opportunity to experience all the city has to offer. So I think Roswell is the perfect hub for coming to the southeastern part of our state. We have a beautiful state. As you said, it's the land of enchantment. So we want them to stay the night in Roswell and then take some day trips to some of our neighboring communities that have really great assets like Ruidoso. You're down here in Roswell, 45, 55 minutes away, you're going to be up in the mountains. A little bit further, you're going to get to experience White Sands. If you go a different direction, you're going to go to National Monument or Carlsbad Caverns. It's just, I think Roswell is that regional hub where you can stay overnight and then have a day trip and experience something else, come back, recharge. And, we have Bitter Lakes Wildlife Rescue, which is a great opportunity for a sunrise or a sunset. If you're a photographer and love to take beautiful pictures, New Mexico is the place to be. And Roswell, you're gonna see some amazing sunsets and sunrises. Roswell is New Mexico true. We believe in not only the brand of New Mexico being the land of enchantment and the experience and the culture that our state has to offer, something that our community has to offer as well. We are more than aliens. We have a variety of art and cultural assets within our community that visitors can experience while they're here. And we appreciate the support of the New Mexico State Tourism Department that helps us get that message out there to bring visitors to our state in a safe way. When you work for the city, you get to hear all the amazing stories of people that come here seeking the truth, some that are coming to tell you what they've experienced. And so one of the greatest times that I've had is I've been able to work in the visitor center, and I get to talk with the visitors, and I've had visitors tell us of their experience of being abducted, of seeing sightings that, they've been driving down on Highway 70 and their wife was in the passenger seat in an aircraft that looked like an unidentified flying object was next to them. They saw a flash of light, and pretty soon they were out in Mars. And then 10 minutes later, they're still driving, they're making their way up north, and everything is great. So we've heard great stories, some that I think are pretty factual, I would say, very believable. And, I've talked to people in our community that they used to work at the hospital. Their grandparents were there the night that the incident happened. And, people don't talk about it. You didn't talk about it. You didn't share it with your neighbor. Everything was so confidential. People were fearful. So, you talk about COVID and the fear of COVID that it's brought on the community. We've heard that about the incident, the fear of the conversation of something happened out in that field that night. And everybody was so scared and didn't really know what to say. We've had visitors come in talking about, their pets and their pets talking to them because they had an experience with an extraterrestrial, and they're now able to communicate with their animals. So we've had it all. We've had those that are very scientific as well, that, you know, they've done their research, they go to the UFO museum, they're here to help in that effort of research. So like I said, we've had it all. I believe there's something out there, yes. I do. I don't know what, but I think something happened. I do think there's other life out there. I don't know if it's alien life, but I do think there's something else out there.
I'm Stephanie Mervine, tourism manager for the city of Roswell. I've lived in Roswell for 16 months. I came to Roswell from Maryland, and I came for the adventure. I was intrigued by the UFO Festival and the wide open spaces of New Mexico, and I really wanted to participate in the overall goal of more awareness for this event and raising the brand level. So what happened to our community here in Roswell when I first got here, it was a complete shutdown. And so we worked hard to pivot in this community and figure out what we could do, especially from a tourism perspective. Juanita and I did join a task force for the state to start working on, when we're out of COVID, what does that look like? I think it was a humbling experience. And you know, we're really happy that we're pulling through it at this moment. One of the main things I'd like them to experience if they were coming here for one day would definitely be Bottomless Lakes is sort of your entry if you're coming from Texas. It depends on which area you're traveling from. But the wide open spaces, we just reopened our zoo, which is a beautiful boutique setting of a zoo. And the restaurants, the authentic cuisine of sort of a Tex-Mex that's unique. I think the Chili's, that's a big push here. And it's just also the people. This region of New Mexico is uniquely different than other regions in New Mexico. So I think getting to know just their stories and the people and the businesses. This is also where John Chisholm came through with the steer, and so there's that whole background and storytelling, and then of course the alien story too. One of the things that we hope this festival does for the city and for the visitors coming from all different places is really to embrace the festival itself, to be able to get out there and enjoy travel, enjoy post-COVID. Some of the elements that we're adding to it are different than they've had in the past. We're making it more of a citywide event. I think that we're all just excited to do something and grateful for the opportunity to be able to have this festival this year. I think one of the things that's exciting about this state and this region is the history is amazing. The Southwest is deeply rooted in the history of the landscape, the pioneer spirit. I think that the Land of Enchantment is, it's a beautiful setting. You know, it's got the mountains, but it has the deserts. And I think that makes it a special place to be, and I'm super happy to be here. We've heard a few. So some of the people that have shared their stories with us have been very interesting, because sometimes it is that stargazing that rolls into something more. And it's a lot of fun, because I think people, they kind of build on it, and we've all heard them. And it just makes it fun and exciting. Yes, I definitely believe, and I like to learn more about the believing, so it's fun and interesting.
My name's Joe Nebb, and I'm the city manager for the city of Roswell. 4 years in New Mexico. Roswell's my only place to live in New Mexico, and so I'd say that some of the people I work with feel like it's forever. Prior to here, and of course my job is what brought me here as a city manager. There's only one in every town, and so I came down from South Dakota, And my wife and mother-in-law and sister-in-law all live in Roswell now. And so when I came down, I guess the big thing that really draws your attention to Roswell is that billion-dollar brand of aliens. But when you start to discover what Roswell is, it is a very diverse community. If you take into account that they have 2 hospitals, they have the Military Institute. It brings in worldwide people as well too. It's the dairy capital of the Southwest, and so it is a very diverse community with all of the different people that come in here. Roswell is looked at as a regional trade center for the southeastern New Mexico area, and so it brings in people from all over this quadrant. It's a very mixed culture, but I think what makes Roswell is that diversity that brings all these different people, all these different influences. It brings them all into the same community. The one thing that I've always appreciated working in communities in the Midwest, they're very good people. They mean well. They speak straight, and they say it how it is, and it's really nice. And they will take their shirt off the back in order to help others. So when we talk about anybody coming here for the weekend, first, don't get a lot of sleep, because we're going to try to pack everything into a short little weekend for that. But again, if you look at the city services as well too, we have the Aquatic Center, we have the Roswell Museum and Arts Center, we have the Spring River Zoo, we have the Nancy Lopez Golf Course. Roswell actually has 3 golf courses. The Country Club, Nemi Golf Course, and of course the Roswell Nancy Lopez Golf Course. And so you can come and stay busy throughout the entire day. When you get outside, the Anderson Museum is another one that I should mention, the UFO Museum. So you can find things to do along with all of those institutions, plus any of the businesses out there that are associated with what they're trying to do with their wares. You get outside the city, then you have the bottomless lakes, you have all the other communities around us, Ruidoso and everything. So you have a full packed weekend. So I would just say don't rest too much, but find time to go out. We've got a good nightlife as well too, depending on what you're involved in. And COVID was tough on Roswell, and it was tough on everybody. I think it was something that nobody really understood the implications, all of the involvement on that. But if you take into account that right prior to COVID, if you know a lot about Roswell, we are oil and gas as well too, and so we're right on the Permian Basin. Oil and gas actually took a hit as well too. The pricing dropped, the market dropped, and then we were hit with this pandemic, and so it almost felt like to us a double whammy. And so what happened? When you're out there, when you start affecting businesses. We've never had governmental influence where you've actually shut down businesses before. So it was really an unknown as to what we were facing and how it was going to go. The city went proactive. We ended up reducing our budget by $31 million. We cut 101 jobs. I think that austerity moves that the city council did with that, it did provide us with the opportunity that we're coming out of it with a big bang, and I think that's what we like about the UFO Festival as well too, is that that's going to be very important for us as that reopening of saying we're here, we're still here, we've always been here, and but. Yeah, COVID was it was very difficult, and it was just, you never knew exactly what next shoe was going to fall. And so stressors on everybody, on the public, different ideas about how to manage it as well too. It was just very difficult, and we're coming out of it now. I look at the UFO Festival as being this restart, this good 2021 activity that's going to really kick everything back off again. You know, the UFO Festival brings in people worldwide. I mean, it's either the brand or it's the mystery that comes with it. It just brings a lot of different people in here in order to enjoy the week with everything that's going on. But we look at, I think that as you know, we're still coming out of the COVID impact. And so we're still kind of moving slowly through that. But we believe that we're right on the precipice of coming out of it completely. The state is planning on, if everything works the way they hope it does, they're planning on opening the state up back in June, trying to move everything back to normal as best as possible. So coming right with that is the UFO Festival, and having that happen right in that time frame, I believe it is a really good opportunity to come back out and just celebrate life the way we should be. You know, this is essentially the 74th year since the crash of the UFO Festival. So next year's event will be the 75th from the crash, from all that activity that started in 1947. And so it has a long storied history. I know we've been in conversation with the grandchildren of some of the soldiers that were on the base at the time, and so I believe that all that activity, it brings people back, it brings families together. It's just a very fun experience in order to enjoy as we develop out the citywide features of this UFO Festival. We're preparing for that milestone year of the 75th. And we have a lot of things planned for that as well too. A lot of commemorations, a lot of different activities that we're just starting to talk about. We're focused right now on the 74th to make sure, because I think that the 74th in some ways is even more important than the 75th, because we're coming out of this pandemic and we're trying to bring everybody back, making sure that everybody remembers that family's the most important thing. I'm a big sci-fi buff, and I enjoy all of that genre. But you know, in 1947, I believe that we had a UFO crash in Roswell. I believe there's enough information of that. If you walk through the UFO Museum, you will see all of this testimony, all of the activity that happened. And I believe that is part of what is happening. You know, having the Earth be part of the entire universe. I think that there are things out there that we can't explain. Parts of Earth are still not experienced yet. You know, deep oceans and everything. So I believe there's a lot of things out there, and so the UFO, the alien, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But little green men. You know, it's a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but it is something to be experienced. Leave it at that. I think the interesting thing about the way the media portrays aliens and such like that, and being out of that sci-fi buff area, and just enjoying all those different movies that are associated with it. I think that when you're looking at that, you know, the U.S. government came out and they started talking about the UFOs that the pilots have been seeing and everything. It's a little more mainstream now with all these different sightings and everything. And you just have to keep remembering that a UFO doesn't mean that it's extraterrestrial or anything. It just means it's unidentified at the time that it was seen. And so I think there's a lot of things out there that we still work on. I think the media does, it goes a couple different directions with that, because I mean, you can get into all the different types of the types of aliens, you know, and I think that's where that challenge comes with trying to separate those items from our imagination to what is actually real and actually tangible within it. It's a very common conversation here in Roswell about incidents that are involved with UFOs or any kind of experiences with that. I don't know if I can say that I've had any experiences. There's a lot of things that I don't recognize as normal. And so I think when I start thinking about it for myself, I'm not one that has ever been abducted. I don't wear the tin hat or anything. I believe that there's a lot of different things that are happening out there, but I've not had any direct experience like that. Do I believe in aliens? Yes, I do.
My name is Judy Stubbs, and currently I'm retired, but I do sit on the Roswell City Council. I have on and off for quite a few years. It's my real passion is public policy. I love being involved with this community and helping better the community and find the best answers for solving problems. My husband was born and raised here, and I didn't actually move here till we had children. But my husband is retired now as a petroleum engineer. And forgive me, we were in West Texas, and I just wanted to come back to New Mexico. So this was a perfect place to come. We were familiar with the community and the people, and people here in Roswell have been so welcoming and given us opportunities that I doubt we'd had anywhere else. Same with our two boys. So this was a perfect place to be, and we've been here now 40 years. Do you know what's really interesting is I love talking about tourism, and as a matter of fact, many years ago after we had an organization that was to some degree looking at tourism, I kind of took charge of it, and it's now the Roswell Tourism Council. It's an organization that doesn't collect dues. We don't have bylaws. We just invite people who are interested in tourism, that either work in tourism or produce events. We come and we brainstorm and we share, and it's really been a great experience to learn the variety of things people are doing here in the Roswell area related to tourism. Of course, COVID has put a halt to a lot of that, but we're pretty excited here in Roswell to think we're starting to open up, and summer's coming, and it's going to be a great time to be in Roswell and experience some of the things that tourists come to see. New Mexico is the most incredible state to travel around. Since I can remember, this state has been called the land of enchantment, and it truly is. From the sunsets we see here in Roswell, from the fact that we are pretty flat here in Roswell in kind of a desert, but 70 miles away from us are beautiful mountains, and on many days here in Roswell you can see that 70 miles away. If it's clear enough, which it typically is, you can see the snow on those mountains. It's like you're living there. It's wonderful. This state is incredibly diverse, with basically the three cultures that grew this state and made it a state, and that's the Native Americans, the Spaniards, and of course the Anglo. And it's such a beautiful blend of people. And northern New Mexico is so much different than the southern part of the state. Down here where we are, is more flat. We do have some pretty mountains as well, and probably much warmer climate. When you get into northern New Mexico, you're into the beautiful mountains, and again, the vistas, the views that you can see, and the diversity of the people is just enchanting. It's a wonderful, wonderful state, and we typically look at the four corners of the four parts of the state, because New Mexico is probably as close to square as any of the 50 states. But you take each of the quadrants, and they're so diverse, with people that still come together and love this country and this state. And I tell you what's beautiful about Roswell, and something we talk about in tourism quite a bit, is Roswell's the perfect place to kind of headquarter and take day trips from here and visit, again, some of the most incredible things. The Carlsbad Caverns are maybe 90 miles away. And when I say that, most of the trip is flat, straight land, so it doesn't take very long to get there. And there's some beautiful things to do there. Again, west of us is Ruidoso, which has world-renowned horse racing in the summer and fantastic snow skiing in the winter. So it's just a quaint kind of, mountainy town that's wonderful to go to. That's less than very easily done in a day from Roswell. A little further away, we have the national monument. It just became a national monument of the White Sands, which there have been a lot of aero type testing, and it's just a really cool place to walk on those sands. So there's so much to do and headquarter here in Roswell, but I don't want to minimize what we have here in Roswell. Peter Hurd and Henrietta Wyatt lived in this area and did their painting and their amazing art. So much of it is on exhibit right here in Roswell in the Roswell Museum and Art Center. And other artists that have come here, the Anderson Museum, which is a privately funded museum, has had the most remarkable artist in residence program over 50 years now, where the Andersons and their foundation and their people have brought in artists from all over the world, actually, who have been juried to be here and create some of the most wonderful pieces of modern art, mostly. So that museum is just phenomenal. You're not going to find art like you find in those two museums almost anywhere else. So we're very, very proud of that. And of course, it was there was Walker Air Force Base here, a little south end of town, which was a strategic air command base during the Cold War as well. It was shut down in the late 60s, and so because of the history that went on there, we have a great Walker Air Force Museum as well, if someone's interested in the history of that era of time. And we have a historical museum too that is just, it's just a great place to go and experience the culture, the people, the land. It's wonderful. People have made good use of the land in New Mexico as well. It's interesting, and I can't give you a percentage, but a lot of New Mexico is federally owned and state-owned, because there's a lot of it out there. And we work very closely in these areas with the Forest Department and Game and Fish, and there are a lot of wonderful places to camp and hike and fish and hunt in New Mexico. Again, several of those places could be and are a day trip from Roswell. So the diversity that is here is what makes it so wonderful. It makes it a growing, a learning, a finding out experience kind of adventure to come to New Mexico. And I am very attached to this southeastern part of the state. I love the museums. I actually spend time in them by myself when I need to think or kind of mellow out or whatever it is. We have the most fantastic museums of primarily contemporary art. And I probably see something different every time I go. There's so much in the Anderson Museum and the Roswell Museum and Art Center. There are, of course, changing exhibits quite a bit, but some of the ones that I know have been there as long as I've been in town, I see a different perspective when I go. So that's my passion, I think. I love to do that. The Historical Museum is wonderful as well. It tells you the history of the people. John Chisholm was a big part of the history of Roswell, and when you realize the hard work that went into creating this community and what people went through to make this what it is today, and are still doing that right now, is really gratifying to me. It's pretty awesome to think what people went through. I actually like old Western movies, and so I can envision, them actually happening here in Roswell when I go to the Historical Museum. Then we have a remarkable UFO Museum and Research Center. And over the years, there have been so many changes and growth in that museum, and a lot of memorabilia from what actually happened July 7th, 1947. Do you know, it is fascinating to me. I have traveled quite a bit of this country, and I've traveled a little overseas, and it is totally mind-boggling to me. Wherever I go and tell people I'm from Roswell, New Mexico, they say, "Oh, is it true? Is it true? What happened?" And that is so fun for me to realize that people who don't know me, I would never have had a clue. You meet them in a restaurant or you meet them in the air terminal somewhere, and they, where are you going? Well, I'm going home to Roswell, New Mexico. And people are just fascinated. They love it. They typically know a little bit more about New Mexico, which is always interesting to me too, because Albuquerque and Los Alamos and some of those places have quite a history themselves in a variety of things. So it does my heart really good to know that people know New Mexico. I got to tell you, this is off the subject, but when I was a 4-H'er, and I was an urban 4-H'er, I didn't have livestock and all of that. I lived in Albuquerque. And we would win a trip to Chicago, a national 4-H conference. And I was fortunate to win one year. And so we went on the train. This is a long time ago. We went on the train to Chicago. And we would get there and we would tell people that, yeah, it was hard to get here, that the Indians, and this is in the 60s, so maybe this is not pertinent at all to this, but, we could tell people that the Indians stopped the stagecoach before we got to the train, or that on a Sunday afternoon we enjoy the boat races on the Rio Grande, and things that are just so bizarre, and people believed them. And so that was fun. And now to see the contrast as an adult, and maybe it's because I'm talking to other adults, but that they know New Mexico. There was a time not too long ago that I think the State Tourism Department was very, very concerned that people didn't know New Mexico and didn't know where we were or that we were even part of this country. And I think Roswell has helped people really recognize the state of New Mexico, the beauty and the diversity and the many, many things to do here in New Mexico, including coming to the UFO Festival. The festival has evolved into some pretty exciting things. As from what I can recall, no two festivals have been exactly the same. The entertainment is always good. The vendors, the food, the experience is outstanding. My husband's father was editor of the newspaper here, not at the time, but after. But my father-in-law and his peers were very much here when that happened. Since I've been here, and these gentlemen are gone now, but through my in-laws, I met Glenn Dennis, who was the mortician in those days, Max Littell. I'm not sure what he did, if he was out at the Air Center or not, but he and Glenn Dennis, and then Walter Haught, who was a dispatcher out at the Air Center when this all happened. Those three were instrumental in bringing and building the UFO Museum and getting people to recognize. Those three for sure had personal experiences with it. And to be very honest with you, when they were alive and when we knew them in the, let's say, 80s, they never talked about it. No one ever really talked about it. Then I knew another gentleman, I forgot about him, who was a custodian out at the Air Center and was worked in the building where they took the bodies, whatever they found. So I have no personal experience. I wish I had hammered some of those people harder. But I have to say that Judy Stubbs personally believes something happened. Something happened. You know, we believe. Do you?
Hi, my name is Kevin Mavers. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Roswell, New Mexico. I moved to Roswell in February of this year, so I've only been doing my job since I think my first day was February 22nd, so just a little over 2.5 months. Well, I was living in La Quinta, California before I moved to Roswell. That was about 25 miles south and east of Palm Springs. But I grew up in the high desert in the area around Lancaster and Palmdale, North Los Angeles County, which was characterized by the NASA developments, space shuttle, moon landings, and everything else. We had a tremendous ongoing space program there. So Roswell was part of the legend of space development and space flight in the United States, going all the way back to the original flight tests and the testing of some of the fuel from Robert Goddard back in the early 1900s. So everybody knew, in my part of the world, knew of the alien space crash. They knew of the legend of Roswell from 1947. And probably half the people I grew up with had been to Roswell and visited Roswell. I personally had never been to Roswell until I moved here a couple of months ago, but everyone is well aware of the things that happened in 1947, and of course then the subsequent legend that followed. The thing that really attracted me to Roswell, in fact the first day I got into town, I took a few hours and I just walked around. I talked to people. I went into a couple of different businesses. And the thing I noticed right away was how incredibly friendly and open everybody is here. That is one of the things that I was looking for when I moved here, was try to find a place where I really felt welcome. And I did. I remember calling my wife, even before I accepted the job to go to work for the city, and saying, hey honey, guess what? We're coming to Roswell. I think you're gonna love it. I know I already am falling in love with it, and nothing has changed my mind. Every single day that I work, every single day that I talk to people, I find something new and wonderful to love about Roswell. Beyond the aliens and beyond the festivals and beyond everything we're doing, just the people here, the climate, the culture, everything about this community, to me, says untapped opportunity. And I hope to be part of that future that Roswell is making for itself. The city of Roswell has been establishing not new food truck regulations, but what we're going back is to a period in a post-COVID world where we're having to apply the existing regulations that are already on the books at the federal, state, and local levels. So what we've done is we've reached out to our food truck community and we've let them know that they need to be contacting us early, preferably a month or more before the UFO Festival or before any events, so that we can sit down and talk to them about what our new regulations are going to be relative to meeting environmental health requirements, meeting fire code requirements, meeting setback requirements, meeting the requirements for being internally powered. In other words, every vehicle must have their own generator or everything, things like that. So there's quite a bit of things that we need to go through. We want to make sure everyone is set up for success. So we're asking everybody to contact our business license department early so that we can walk you through the process and set you up to get your permit. If you buy one of the newer food trucks, they're already coming with the appropriate hoods and the appropriate fire suppression equipment. They're already coming with the onboard generators and things like that. All the things that we need to be self-sustaining as essentially a mobile commercial kitchen. Okay? Where we're getting a little bit of pushback and we're concerned, and which is why we're getting the information out there as early as possible, is some of the older food trucks or some of the converted vehicles that have been converted. We want to make sure that everybody is current and up to date with the most current regulations, the most current information, so that they can take the time, they have the time to get out there if they need to earn a little extra money, if they need to work a little extra hard, but give them the time to reinvest back into themselves, back into their food truck business to bring everything up to a standard that we expect and, quite honestly, that they need to be at. The City of Rosno business licensing is actually incredibly inexpensive. An annual business license, I believe, is only $35. That will carry you for a year. Okay? Where there's additional costs, though, of course, is going to be in the permitting for a particular event. Because mobile food trucks, by definition, move around and they go to different events, each event probably has its own permit fee. As an example, for the summer, we have our Friday food truck festivals. It's not really a festival, but we offer a Friday food truck program. So to go from the 1st of May until Labor Day, that's a one-time $75 fee. Every Friday night, you can go out, you've got your permit, you can sell along Main Street. For the UFO Festival coming up, there'll be a separate fee because it's a separate festival, a separate permit, separate operations. So that fee will be established prior to the beginning of the event when you get your permit. For anyone who may be attending the event and wants to be a vendor and you may have prepackaged food or other things that you want to sell, maybe things you're making out of your home kitchen, you want to be part of the event and sell things that you've pre-made, please remember, it's not just food trucks that need a business license. If you are selling anything at the UFO Festival, you're going to need a City of Roswell business license. So we ask you to please contact us as early as possible. We'll run you through the process. It's not nearly as detailed for other folks as it is for the actual food truck vendors, but it's still a process and it takes a couple of days to move through it. So please, if you're selling anything at the UFO Festival, even prepackaged food, get a hold of us early and let's get you through the process as quickly as possible. We want to make very clear to everybody that there is a two-step process in order to become a vendor at the UFO Festival. Step number one is that you need to contact the City of Roswell and you need to make sure that you have a valid City of Roswell business license for your food truck. Once your food truck goes through the business licensing process, then you will contact the UFO Festival management team. You will download from their website the actual application in order to be a vendor at the UFO Festival. It's my understanding there is a fee for that privilege, but once you pay that fee, there are no additional fees to the City of Roswell that are required in order to be a vendor at the UFO Festival. The City of Roswell will work with the festival operators. We will vet everybody, and then once you have your business license and you put in your application, you should be on your way to being a vendor at our upcoming UFO Festival. In a post-COVID world, I think the UFO Festival is the best thing that we can do to say that Roswell is back. Roswell is open for business. Roswell is a destination for fun, for festivals, for food, for everything that's going on. I absolutely believe that this year's UFO Festival is a gigantic coming out party for the City of Roswell. And we're going to put ourselves back on the map and say, we're here, we're going to have fun, and you know what? It's time to get back to having a good time instead of being worried all the time. Whether you believe or you don't believe, so what? Okay? It happened. There was an event. Okay? It was exciting. It brought people together. And honestly, it gave a lot of credence to many of the sci-fi adventures that happened after it. Of course, I grew up with Star Trek. And you could see that there was the idea of aliens coming to Earth. Okay? In the earliest forms of Star Trek, the Vulcans, the Andorians, the Deltans, all those folks that were coming to visit and the part of the United Federation of Planets, a much bigger galaxy out there. Truthfully, if you think about it, with all due respect to the Star Trek world, Roswell, New Mexico was a point of first contact, not Montana.
The UFO Museum's role in the UFO Festival is bringing in guest speakers from all over the world. This year we have 10 guest speakers that will be here starting Thursday morning and doing lectures until Sunday night. The guest speakers that we did invite all have a new exhibit in our museum to represent. They either have a wall or a small display there in our museum.
Our hopes for the UFO Festival are pretty much the same every year, in that we want visitors to come to Roswell, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the climate, and provide them in a safe, family-oriented, fun environment. And that equates to gross receipts tax being paid to the city of Roswell, which helps enhance the quality of life in the city of Roswell for all the residents. So we hope that it does not only attract our tourists, but also helps the city in a financial way.
Oh, the UFO Festival is so exciting for the people it brings to town, but what we do for the community, and we ourselves enjoy it greatly, is put on a series of laser light shows. And that will be happening during the UFO Festival, July 2nd through 4th, in the Robert H. Goddard Planetarium here at the Roswell Museum. What it is projecting lasers up on the dome that are then coordinated to music. And this is wonderful classic music like Laser Queen. This time I have Laser Queen and Laser Grateful Dead and Laser Elton John, but we'll also be doing Metallica and Led Zeppelin and of course Pink Floyd The Wall. In addition to that, in the mornings, I'll be playing a film called Destination Mars.
So during the UFO Festival, we're definitely gonna increase our time. Currently, we are open from 9 to 5, but during the UFO Festival, Spaceport will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you can purchase the tickets from UFO Museum, and there will be walking tickets, which will be very limited. And you want to book in advance, then you can go to spaceportroswellnm.com.
During the UFO Festival, although we're not the UFO Museum, which we do encourage people to also go and visit, we are an arts and culture institution. So if they want to take a break from the heat, they want to take a break from the busyness of the festival, we welcome them to come in and take in the art, the science, the history that we have here. For those that come to the festival, they might have an interest in Robert Goddard and the history of space exploration. So this would be a really neat place for them to see. We also have a planetarium, and so we'll be having laser light shows and regular planetarium shows on display too. So that would be something for people to see. And again, just to explore the art and history of our region and of the world, being that we have the Artist in Residence program. So there's a lot to see and do, and I think it just would add a little bit of variety to their experience while they're here during the festival. Not only will they see our mainstay exhibits on display, so our Robert Goddard area, our American West collection, our modern art from New Mexico, but we will also be featuring a regional artist named William Goodman, and the title of the show is Lucky Escape, The Wild World of William Goodman. And when you see the work in the show, you'll understand why that's the title. He's a wonderful gentleman, originally from England. He came here to be a part of the Artist in Residence program and ended up staying. So he lives in Tinney, New Mexico, and he's been a supporter and an artist in our community now since the early 70s. And we're just really excited to be able to display his work, and it'll be up through the UFO Festival, so folks that are in town can come and visit it. And he is a very imaginative person. He paints, he creates sculpture, he does drawings, he works with printing. And through those different media, he creates invented worlds, so invented landscapes, invented creatures that are all very playful. And so we haven't installed the exhibit just yet, but it will be up during the UFO Festival. And I think it's going to be a really wonderfully wild environment. So we hope everyone can see William's work. We're really proud of the museum. And during the UFO Festival, we hope people come in and take in the sights and visit our exhibits, learn something, be inspired, take memories with them. We are very proud of this institution and what it means for our community. And when the UFO Festival takes place, it's time for our community to shine a little bit and for us to share a bit of our world with the rest of the world. So we hope that people come and visit and that they're inspired.
Our role in the UFO Festival every year is to be here as a place for people to come in and kind of re-energize. And that includes getting cold drinks, hot drinks, caffeine, food, and have a cold place to sit for a little while that's just not crazy and noisy. We love UFO Festival as a coffee shop. We think of it as Halloween in July. It brings in people from all over the world. 25,000 people descend on the city all at once, and we are just so jazzed for it. So we staff up. We try to be here so we can take care of the endless lines, make sure that we cycle people through, and also have a comfortable place for people to sit and just relax for a little while. And then also, we try to have pop-up music during the day. This year I'm trying to get the symphony to have a trio maybe playing throughout the UFO Festival so you can relax and enjoy some cool music. And then if we're allowed to have gatherings like of groups again, we'll open up the back garage door and maybe have some heavy metal bands in the evening. We'll stay open a little later. But other than just being here and just loving all of, and we'll have specials too. We'll have our alien specials, of course. But we'll be here for the throngs of people to re-energize.
So the location for the Arts and Crafts Fair, that'll be part of the UFO Festival, is going to be out in our playground area. It'll be free for everyone to attend. And then we're hoping once you're done at the Arts and Crafts Festival that you come and join us here at the zoo and say hi to some of the animals that we have here.
During the UFO Festival, our goal is to get a lot of people to play in our first annual Alien Open this year, which is going to be on July the 3rd. The golf course will be available to the public and the people coming from out of town at all times during that weekend, from July the 1st through the weekend, through the following Monday. You can call and make it tea time. But our goal is to have a great tournament, get people out, and show them our golf course here in the city of Roswell. It's better if they bring their own clubs, but we do have a restricted amount. We've got about 5 sets of rental clubs if they can't bring their own, and I can probably put some more together if I have to, if some people can't make it. But just bring their clubs and their desire to play in a tournament, and we'll get them out there playing.
RCLT is putting on a Battle of the Bands UFO theme style, and the winner of the battle gets to be the opener for the headliner. I hope that the impact of the UFO Festival and RCLT kind of partnering up a little bit, I hope that it lets people know that, hey, we have a theater, we have a community theater, and we've been here 62 years. I hope that on a whole, Roswell really benefits. I hope that we get a lot of new people coming in to check us out because Roswell really needs that.
I hope the UFO Festival will bring lots of tourists to town, get people out and about again and socializing, and I hope it'll bring some recognition and some new people to the theater that have never been here before, and get our name out in the community, and maybe help people recognize a little more what we do.
I got to attend my first UFO Festival 2 years ago after I moved here, and I'm sure that I will probably be at the parade. I'll be one of the people watching, and then I think we're probably going to be pretty busy getting this thing going. It's going to take up quite a bit of our time getting up to that, but after Friday night, hope to attend several of the events around the city, so should be fun.